So you've got that ecosystem, you've got this community, you're surrounded by thousands of agencies. Why is building a network such a challenge for agencies like you and your team?
Yeah, I think we are all united around the HubSpot partnership. We realize the power of the, CRM platform that can help drive and grow and scale businesses. And so we rely heavily upon the success of that partnership. And so I believe last time I checked, there is over 6,500 active HubSpot partners currently. And so it's difficult to build a network because even though we're centered around the same thing, our goals all kind of oppose each other. And so it is quite difficult to build a following or a network inside of this ecosystem without ruffling feathers or just building relationships that may have some sort of friction in there. And so it's difficult to build the network, but ultimately it makes it more authentic when you actually do build one. And so when you're genuine around building relationships and finding solutions for other partners and mentoring and helping people that are, much smaller than you are to help build the next generation of HubSpot partners, that's ultimately feeding into HubSpot's slogan, which is growing better together. And that's what the mission is with what we're trying to do at Aptitude 8.
I love that. I do partnerships at Agorapulse, and so I'm completely relating to and resonating with everything you're talking about. I'm building relationships with other brand partners, but for us, it's different. For me, it's different
Mhm.
because I'm working with other brands where we have complementary services. So it's
Yeah.
frankly pretty easy for us to partner
Yeah.
up. Yeah, we're not competing, right? Where we're going to both talk to the customer, we're going to manage their social media. Maybe a partner like Pictory might actually help them create the assets that they would then push through Agorapulse to share out.
Mhm.
For you, it's different. I get that. For agencies where we have those competing interests. So how did you overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I feel like it's really focused around knowledge sharing more than anything else because the beauty to having such a large and diverse ecosystem is that a lot of different partners specialize in different things. Some partners are marketing focused, some partners are technically focused like us at Aptitude 8. Some partners want to do sales operations and revenue operations, things like that. And so what's nice about it is the common united front that brings us all together is being a HubSpot partner, which means that we can learn from one another in those skill sets that we specialize in per your industry, per your niche, whatever it is. And so the value of the network really comes in learning from those that are doing different things from you, all on HubSpot.
So how long did it take you to overcome this and start to build networks and create those valuable relationships?
Yeah, good question. I think it's a constant thing. It's a relationship, right? Your network is just a compilation of all the relationships that you have. And a relationship is not one where you build it and then you're done. A relationship is an ongoing thing that needs to be nurtured and touched. Just because as your network grows, your relationships deepen and it becomes harder to maintain all the relationships when you get to 10,000 followers or whatever it is. Building the network at both like a professional level where it's one-to-one networking communications, as well as me partnering with other companies. We have other partnerships that we are currently nurturing, and sometimes those are more than one person. Sometimes it's a whole sales team or a whole partnership team, and those are very valuable and require a lot more touch points. And so 5 years is what it's taken to get my network to where it is now, and it's been a constant maintenance of that network in order for it to pay off and be successful.
Yeah, and you mentioned you've been going to inbound for 5 years. Is that one of the primary drivers you think of these relationships, or have there been other things that you've kind of leaned on?
I think inbound, I could attribute much of my network to those in-person conferences. But Inbound is the only conference that I go to every year. I'm not really like a conference attendee. And so Inbound is the exclusive conference that I attend in September. But I would say that the HubSpot resources in general, which Inbound would count as one of those resources, have helped propel my network to a level that I never thought it would be at. And so it's things like the HubSpot community pages where customers can submit ideas or requests or ask for help from people that can help solve their problems. It's things like the community champions ecosystem, right? So those people that are actually assisting and helping customers, connecting with those experts that are world class in terms of solving problems using the HubSpot platform. And so there's so many different resources that the HubSpot community provides. And luckily, I can attribute 90% of my network success to those HubSpot channels.
We talked about inbound, right? Inbound is not cheap. What do you think your investment was total in terms of time and money? And how would you measure or describe the results that you've seen as a result?
Yeah, the total cost in terms of dollars is probably somewhere in the range of it's 15 grand plus, just over the many times that I've been to Inbound as well as LinkedIn Premium, if you want to count all the software and other events that I've attended previously outside of conferences, somewhere north of 15 grand. As far as time input, it's likely hundreds of hours, if not 1,000 plus. As far as my return on investment from that, I exited my last company that I founded, and that paid for itself many times over. The
Mm.
value of the network and the revenue that I was able to drive for my business at that time was, I don't want to say instantaneous, but it was very quick. The relationships that I developed at Inbound and through the HubSpot community channels resulted in me hiring some of the best experts in the HubSpot ecosystem to help propel my business to the next level. It brought me into relationships that resulted in my exit. And so those can be quantified to likely a very high dollar amount, but if anything, it gave me a career pathway, which is way more valuable than I thought it would be.
I love that. There's all these things that can happen as a result of relationships, particularly events. Can you think of one in particular that's just had that kind of profound kind of an impact on you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one is the value of being in person. We are now a remote workforce for the most part in the world of marketing agencies, I would say, and just general partners in the ecosystem. Most of us are remote. And so we don't get to see the value of in person all that often, especially with globally distributed teams. But one relationship in particular was actually at Inbound last year, Inbound 2023. I met Connor Jeffers in person for the first time. And that was what led to my eventual acquisition at the end of that same year. And so it was nice because we kind of knew each other in the ecosystem. We would cross paths. He understood the great work that we were doing. I understood the great work that Aptitude 8 was doing. And so being able to meet in person and see that like cultural alignment as two humans together made all the difference in the eventual exit of myself and my team and becoming part of the Aptitude 8 family.
Fantastic, fantastic. What else would you say maybe you've learned or some takeaways as a result of investing time and resources into relationships and seeing some of the fruits of those investments?
The main thing that I would recommend if anyone is out there trying to build a network or a following is people love authenticity. There's a lot of people out there that are creating content that is ripped from other sources or is just not as, organic as what it could be. I really thrived upon the authenticity of my relationships, as in I typically wasn't automating my LinkedIn messages or my outreach with InMail and stuff like that. I was doing my discovery, my due diligence before I was trying to connect with the person to show that I genuinely care about building a relationship, and that yielded many fruits along the way. Because when you are actively invested in a relationship and you want to benefit the other person that you're communicating with, it results in you scratch my back, I scratch yours sort of thing. And so it was nice just because that was the thing that I learned very early on in network building, and it had a direct impact on the way that I sell now. Because ultimately, there's a stat that I always bring up: 60% of people don't trust sales reps. There's just a negative connotation with sales reps. No one likes being sold to. It's just a kind of obvious thing. That's why people that sell cars have like such a hard time selling stuff. And so, when you're authentic about what you're proposing and the value of it, it goes a much longer way, both in building a network and selling something.